A new law in New York City bans landlords from discriminating against tenants based on their body size. Basically, a fat phobia law. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an intriguing article for you today. And yeah, I say intriguing. I normally say interesting, but in my comment section, somebody says that I say interesting too often. Okay, so I have an intriguing and a special, spectacular article for you today. And it's going over this new law up in New York City. And I'm sure that you've already heard a little bit about it if you've watched the mainstream news. Okay, basically, New York wants to end fat phobia. Okay, this is the big thing that's going on within the city right now that they think that is a huge problem. Never mind the tens of thousands of illegal aliens, sleeping on the street corners. I mean, I saw it myself when I was up there. But fat phobia is the big problem, and this problem is going to impact landlords because landlords, we no longer will be able to deny a tenant based on their body size. Now, I don't know too many landlords who are denying people based on their body size anyway, but it's one thing to say, hey, you know what, we're going to protect people based on things that are, factors that are out of their control. And then it's another thing to say, hey, we have something that is within a tenant's control, and this thing in particular, could possibly be a safety issue that a landlord does not want to deal with. Okay, so I don't believe that you should be discriminating against a person based on their size, right? But how far do we go? How far do we go when we say, hey, I don't want to have to make reasonable accommodations for a person who weighs 700 pounds to be able to live in my unit, okay? Because that's what we're really talking about here. They want reasonable accommodations for the people who are very, very large. And, unless we are basing everything upon the largest person in the entire country, there's no way that we're going to be able to accommodate everybody. And that's going to be expensive. It's going to be difficult for landlords. It's going to be very hard for us to prove that we had no ill intentions. And, I feel like this is just another law that's going to make it even more difficult for landlords to operate their businesses. And so before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Now, I'm just curious what everyone thinks of this law up in New York City, basically, the anti-fat phobia law, banning businesses from, discriminating against people of larger size due to their weight, due to, banning landlords from renting to people of larger size due to, I'm just curious what everyone thinks of this law. Now, this law, it kind of hits me a little bit personally because I'm a person who used to be very, very large myself, okay? So at my highest, I used to weigh close to 500 pounds. And, I went through back 16 years ago now, and I just, turned my life completely around back when I was 27 years old. And I spent a long amount of time losing weight. And then, eventually I got into fitness and I exercise. And to this day, I still exercise every day, right? But I have a lot of sympathy for people who are in that situation because it is not easy to lose weight. It is not easy. It's not something just about people being lazy. A lot of it has to do with other factors. And until I hit rock bottom, I wasn't able to get out of it and get myself into a better position. Now, like I said, I don't believe that these people need to be discriminated against, right? But, I look at it from the perspective of, too, that, hey, there might be safety or, other issues involved. And that's why everything should be on a case-to-case basis based on the landlord and what they believe is best. Okay, so if, for example, a person who weighs 600 pounds wants to live in the top floor of a building that doesn't have an elevator and claims that they're going to be able to climb up the stairs every day and they have very limited mobility, well, do I have to make reasonable accommodation? Do I have to put an elevator in or a chairlift or, what exactly has to be done? And, that's the kind of thing that I'm worried about. I'm worried about especially small mom and pop landlords falling into this trap of reasonable accommodations. Okay. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from jacksonlewis.com, and it says New York City law against body size discrimination, what the residential real estate industry needs to know. All right, and yeah, they go into a bit more details, and let's get into it. New York City's legislation amending the New York City Human Rights Law, Local Law 61 of 2023, prohibits discrimination based on a person's height or weight in employment, housing, and public accommodations. The new law took effect November 26th of 2023. As stated by Mayor Eric Adams, no one should ever be discriminated against based on their height and weight. We all deserve the same access to employment, housing, and public accommodations, regardless of our appearance. It shouldn't matter how tall you are or how much you weigh when you're looking for a job, are out on the town, or trying to rent an apartment. This law will help level the playing field for all New Yorkers, create more inclusive workplaces and living environments, and protect against discrimination. And, I agree to an extent, of course, right? Like, I will say that, one of the jobs that I had after I lost my weight was I worked for AT&T, the telephone company, and I was a cable splicer, right? So in order to even qualify for the job and be able to climb ladders and use their equipment, their safety equipment, you had to weigh less than 275 pounds. So had I not lost weight, I wouldn't have even been able to complete the training. The safety equipment would have been not working for me. So I'm hoping that there are exemptions in place for the businesses where, hey, there is a need for these people to weigh less. Okay. Now, other positions similar to that would be like, for police officers and firefighters where they have certain physical fitness requirements, right? And, I don't believe that a person who is overweight, massively overweight, mind you, who would be able to keep up with those physical fitness requirements. So I do believe that in those cases, yeah, we do need limits. Okay, we need limits in terms of how heavy you can be. New York City has posted frequently asked questions on its dedicated webpage to inform employers, housing providers, and public accommodations about Local Law 61 of 2023 prohibiting height and weight discrimination, and to educate New Yorkers on their rights. Regulations to provide greater guidance on the law are expected. Housing frequently asked questions. Now we're going to get into the gist of it. How is this going to impact landlords? Okay. And believe me, I expect to see these sort of laws being passed throughout the entire country. New York City is the first, but it wouldn't surprise me if they bring this sort of thing up where I live and where I invest as well. As to housing, the frequently asked questions state, landlords, property managers, realtors, and their agents must treat applicants seeking housing and current tenants the same, regardless of height, weight, or body size. The term agent is not defined in the FAQs. This list also should not be viewed as exclusive. For example, co-op boards that interview applicants are covered by and should comply with the law. Unlike the employment law exceptions and defenses under the law, height, weight, or body size are never permissible criteria, and there are no exceptions when it comes to New York City housing. Moreover, stereotypes or speculative health and safety concerns regarding body size stem from entrenched bias and do not constitute permissible justifications for height or weight discrimination in housing. So, sounds like there's no exceptions for the housing part. Okay, now it sounds like they do have exceptions for the employment part, but man, like my question is though, do landlords, do property managers, do we have to come up with reasonable accommodations? Like, for example, if you have a person who is very large, you have to be able to provide that person with a shower that they don't have to, step over the little ledge for like you would for like an elderly person, or do you need handrails? Do you need wider door? You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of questions I have. And if you are not complying, are there penalties involved? Now, I'm not saying, like I said, I do not believe that you should be saying, oh, well, this person is, shorter, tall, or whatever, and they shouldn't be able to live here. But, it should be something that is under, the landlord should be the one making that decision, not the government. Okay, because the government can put landlords and put good landlords who are doing everything right into a very, very bad position. So, they say that, oh, there's no safety issues involved. And we know there are safety issues. We know this. Okay. Just like telling a person who has a wheelchair that, hey, you have to climb these stairs. Well, that's not going to work, is it? No, of course it's not. But, they don't see things this way. There's more information about this law in this article. So, what I'll do is I'll put a link to it down in the description below, and you can read the rest of it yourself. But I'm just kind of curious, put comments down there. What do you think some of the unintended consequences of this sort of law are going to be for landlords?